Hey everyone! Apparently I have been saying the number of the episode wrong for the past 3 or 4 videos. I just discovered that, so I'm going to double check which number of episode this is. Episode 14 of the Holland-a-thon, and today I will be talking about Spies in Disguise. Well then, Spies in Disguise. What can I say about this movie? Except that I don't know very much about it. I recall when it came out, some people were like, "Oh, this is like so bad, we have to see this." And I was like, not even Tom Holland can convince me to go see this. But here we are. I know it stars Will Smith, and Will Smith turns into a bird, a pigeon, right? But I guess he's also a spy. Hence the title, Spies in Disguise, because he's a spy, but he turns into a pigeon, so that's his disguise. It's actually really clever when you think about it. I am not sure how Tom Holland plays into this movie. Is he also a spy? Is he Will Smith's son? I guess adopted son then, because Will Smith's character is black and Tom Holland's character is white. So the genetics don't really add up. But then again, it's a cartoon, so you never really know. I don't even know what studio brought this film out. Is it DreamWorks? I don't know. We'll come back to that in the post thoughts, if I remember. Anyway, I think it has quite a low score on IMDb. Let me double check real quick. 6.8, that's not really low. So most of the times what that means is it's a decent movie aimed at kids, not really something adults would just put on for themselves, but they're not going to be really bored, and kids probably love it. That's mostly what a 6.8 means on an animated film. What you should know about me is that I'm very picky about my animation films, and for a while I was kind of a Disney/Pixar purist. If it wasn't made by Disney or Pixar, yeah, I wasn't going to watch your film. I do realize that DreamWorks and other animation studios can bring out really good and enjoyable films. My favorite example is the movie Storks, which I'm not saying is a masterpiece or anything, but if you have to watch it, it's not that bad. And I am really hoping this film is going to be somewhat like that. Not really something you put on yourself, but if you have to watch it because you've got a little nephew that wants to watch it, or because you want to watch every film that Tom Holland's ever been in for some reason, it's not that bad. I hope it's going to be something like that. I'll let you know if it is something like that, or if it's just horrible after I have seen the film. If I had a nickel for every time a character played by Tom Holland goes to Venice to have an action scene, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Spies in Disguise is the story of world-famous spy Lance Sterling, who has to catch the person who tried to frame him with the help of his sidekick Walter. But because of some accident, Walter accidentally turns Lance into a pigeon. And this movie is kind of fun. I definitely thought it would be worse. It was made by Blue Sky Studios, to answer one of my questions from my pre-thoughts, and I feel like they mostly produce solid, albeit sometimes childish movies, and I think this was just one of them. Most of the time I didn't really mind what I was watching, but some of the times it was so childish it was cringy. The good and indifferent parts first. The story is a little crazy and very weird. I mean, Tom Holland turns Will Smith into a bird. That's weird enough, right? But even though the premise was a bit weird, I could live with it. Like, it wasn't so out of the box that it wasn't fun anymore. It's kinda more like so random that it becomes intriguing rather than a good idea. The story is not that complicated, obviously, it's a children's film. It was very easy to follow along even if you're half paying attention. And there are some funny moments, but there's definitely funnier films out there. And the humor is one of my main gripes with this film. Some filmmakers seem to think that children only are capable of laughing at weird, funny noises such as farts and burps and slapstick humor. Then they fill up their film with those things, and for me that just totally doesn't work. Those are the two things that I find least funny. Slapstick can be funny, but just weird noises, no. And also this film had some weird gross out humor, like pigeons puking up band-aids and stuff. There was a surprising amount of underwear and potty humor. Yeah, it's just, I found it quite tasteless sometimes. You know that thing in animated films when there's like a bit that wasn't that funny to begin with, but then it keeps on going, like for way too long? Yeah, that was in this film too, because of course it was multiple times even. It's just, yeah, what did I expect? One joke that did work for me, and I found particularly funny, and I don't even know if it's meant to be a joke, is near the end, Will Smith yells at Tom Holland, "Oh, that's hard," and that's got to be a reference to the worst YouTube rewind ever, right? Or is it just something that Will Smith says? I don't know, but it's gotta be, right? And I thought that was quite funny. The action was okay, it wasn't mind-blowing or anything, but I didn't expect it to be. As I said already, there was a scene in Venice, which is funny because only last movie did Tom Holland go to Venice to have an action scene as well. I don't know if that's a coincidence or if one of the movies is referencing the other, but they came out quite close to each other, so I don't think that it's meant to be a reference. Probably just a coincidence, but you never know. Another thing I liked were the opening titles. There were some great James Bond homages and possibly references, but I'm not that well read upon James Bond. And throughout the film there were also some James Bond and spy homages, and to me that indicates that at least one person working on this film was passionate about it, and yeah, I mean, that's great, I think. It's better than absolutely no one, and I think these tiny hints can really show that, oh yeah, someone did care about this project. For that reason, I don't think it's really fair to just break it down completely, because it has some good parts in it. Tom Holland was interesting. This is the first movie where he truly gave a comedic performance. Like, he has some funny lines in his Spider-Man films, but those are mostly just lines that are funny because of the context. And in this movie, he's a voice actor, so the comedic lines he gives are really done with his voice. It's really the way he says it that is meant to be funny. To me, that just felt like more of that childish humor. It's really cartoony. Obviously, it's a cartoon, but he really says it in a cartoony way, so that didn't really work for me. But I figure that those parts must have been really funny for children, you know, the target demographic of this movie. So yeah, I think that works well for... I mean, it's not something that really doesn't suit Tom Holland, I think. Also, speaking about Tom Holland, his character was supposedly 20 years old, judging by a picture of his ID. At least that is what Wikipedia says, because I didn't notice the ID while watching the film. So he is supposed to be 20 years old, and that fits into our graph like this. And it looks like we're going up in the world again, so that's nice. In conclusion, I thought this was a decent children's film, but it's nothing more than that. People like to confuse the word children's and family film. People like to just call everything that is animated a children's film. And other people like to call everything that is animated a family film. But I think there's a clear difference. To refer back to my pre-thoughts, where I said that I'm a Disney/Pixar purist, or at least I used to be, they make family films, right? Like films you can watch with the entire family and no one will get bored. Pixar itself has said on multiple occasions that they try to make films for everyone, not just children. And I think this is not one of those films. This is a film specifically meant for children, with maybe a couple of jokes or references in there for the mums and dads. That being said, it works as a children's film. It's not like the Minions or the Emoji Movie, where the parents will just tear their hair out if they had to watch it. But it's not something I would mind if my hypothetical children were to watch this. And for that reason, I am giving Spies in Disguise a 6 out of 10. Next episode, I will be watching Doolittle, so do join me for that, and I will see you then. Goodbye.